Outro video para ti hoy. Este es Ron con enacomputers.com. Another video. I have this computer that is having major startup problems, and so I'm going to try to rectify the situation. As you can see on screen, Windows cannot repair this computer automatically. At boot, it constantly... Here, I'll show you what it does. And I have it already taken apart, but what I can do is I can show you what it keeps doing. It just keeps looping, boot loop. This is Windows 7, what Home Professional, or Home Professional, Professional. And this is a Micro Center computer, I think. PowerSpec, I think, are only sold at Micro Center, I think. That's the only place I've ever found them. It's a quad core, actually. Oops. Let's turn it. I don't know why it... Okay, there it goes. So it posts the BIOS. I had to take out 2 RAM sticks. There's PowerSpec Intel. It has an Intel motherboard. The CD-ROM was set to boot. It says starting Windows, and then it blue screens. So you can barely see the blue screen, but what you can do is you keep hitting F8 on the keyboard, and then we're going to disable the automatic. When you hit F8 on Windows 7, you get this screen. Very important screen. Repair your computer, which loops, but now this is strange. When you allow it to go into the repair your computer, it tries to kick off the repair. It might loop. However, if you hit F8 before Windows tries to boot, you get into this advanced boot options menu. Just by hitting F8, choose advanced options for Windows 7. I'm not going to choose repair your computer. Let me show you what you can do. Now, I always try these. When a customer brings me a computer that is looping or just doesn't boot properly, I try safe mode. I try safe mode with networking. I try safe mode with command prompt. And I also try a last known good configuration. If none of those 4 options work, then I move along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to disable automatic restart on system failure. We're going to just select that one because I'm going to show you the blue screen now. It'll still blue screen, but it will not automatically restart. It says it has a virus. A problem has been detected, blah, 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 blah. Check for viruses on your computer. I already did that. But I'm going to show you how to slave this hard drive into another computer, and I'll show you how I scan for viruses. Remove any newly installed hard drives or hard drive controllers. Check your hard drive to make sure it is properly configured and terminated. Run check disk. I already performed all of that. So I have to re-image, but I just want, since I'm going through this, I just thought I'd make this video showing you what I do as a computer repair tech. So that is how to get it to spit out the blue screen so that you can use that as troubleshooting. Now I'm going to show you the actual hardware. I had to take out these 2 memory sticks. They're different. These are in pairs, but they cause it worked for a while, but then it started beeping. So I took those out. This motherboard has 6 memory slots. The existing 4 gigs works just fine. Now, I'm going to show you what I had to do. Let me power this guy off. Let me show you what I had to do to get the hard drive out. I'm just going to plug the power out. Just going to unplug the power cable. And I'm going to press the power button to get rid of any electrostatic discharge. Now, in order to get the hard drive out, I had to... It was just 2 screws, but I'll show you the way the computer was. Let's see, this is the top. So I'll just show you. You have to take off this... You have to take off the front plate. As you can see, it's a PowerSpec, Windows 7. It's quad core. I think they're only sold at Micro Center, I think. The hard drive slides in through the front. believe it or not. See? It slides in through the front. Now, not all computers are like this. So what I had to do is, I better put it back. Well, no, it doesn't really matter. I'll just try to kind of show you what I had to do. And then we'll just move it. I have a camcorder, I just don't have I'm not able to upload the video files from the camcorder because the FireWire 1394 doesn't work on the camera, so I have to find a used camcorder that will work FireWire, and then just swap tapes or swap the tape in. So now right here you have to press in on this one and press in on this one. You have to squeeze them. Squeeze and then press in to release. I might have to do it this way. They're kind of a pain in the ass. Or maybe if I flip it like this, and then you squeeze and press. You maybe have to start with the bottom one. There we go. See how it comes loose? And there's just those two, and then it comes right off. And there's the front cover. And then the hard drive slides in this slot right here. So then it was sitting like this, and then I'll line up the screws right here. They're even labeled. I think you could install a floppy here. So there was 2 screws here, luckily. Now sometimes on computers, when you take them apart, they're screwed with 4 screws and on the other side. So then what you would have to do is you'd have to take off the other back cover and then unscrew the other 2 screws on the back side. But once in a while I get a computer that obviously somebody has worked on, because I think at the factory generally they screw down hard drives with 4 screws, 2 on each side. And then obviously it was connected, the SATA connectors were connected, the power and the cable, that's it. And then the hard drive slid out, so just slide out the hard drive. And then I had to take off this cover, which was just like this. Not all cases are the same. These are nice to work with. I actually like the PowerSpec computers, although trying to sell them, some people don't like them, maybe because they're not a popular brand, but I actually like them. And so the 2 screws and then the cover came off. And then the memory I had to take out. You see the orange. So somebody had added, you don't really want to mix and match memory, and especially if they are running at the different speeds, and a lot of times they won't even work. But this guy started beeping, and so I took out the RAM, but the hard drive will not boot. It says I just showed you the error. However, I've already went through this, so we're going to go into my other part of my office here, and here's my slave. I gotta turn on the light. Here's my slave computer, which also is another PowerSpec. See, this one's only a dual core. You could probably get away with a single core computer for your data recovery. This is my dual purpose. It's my data recovery machine, troubleshooting, I slave drives. I usually leave this like this. I leave the cover off to get to it quickly, but I leave it like that so less dust gets in there. We'll just push that away there, and then we'll just slave it. So I've got 2 extra SATA cables and power cables in case I need to clone. That's another thing you want to become aware of, is I also use this to clone. It's got a optical drive, and then which is also SATA. And then, so I can clone, hard drives, so you're going to have 2. But this one I've got 2 other, I've got Linux and Windows 10. I actually use Linux for data recovery. Actually, Linux is better for data recovery than Windows. Someday I'll make a video about that. So you just connect the SATA connector there, and the power here. Actually, whoops. Actually, the power is always reverse. It's hard to do this with one hand. The power is always, I think yeah, so it'll fit. There it goes. And I just kind of leave it like that. And sometimes I even put the cover just so the hard drive doesn't fall. But then I don't want to get cables caught in the fan. But that's it. This is just a dual core computer with Linux and Windows 10. I prefer using Linux for data recovery, but a lot of times I just start off with Windows 10 because because I only have, how many SATA connectors on this motherboard? It only has 4, so I'm limited. However, so I have one SATA for the optical drive so that I can, I can also use this for D-band, which is I'm going to show you. I'm going to probably wipe this hard drive because I've noticed, I'll get to that. And then I've got a second hard drive that has Linux, and then I've got a third hard drive that has Windows 10, and then here's the fourth hard drive, which is a customer's drive. So I'm kind of limited, but it works out. I just swap these cables, or these cables aren't even hooked up. The reason why I don't have them plugged in is because I don't dual boot anymore. Microsoft Windows is nasty when it comes to dual booting. It'll fuck up the MBR on your Linux drive, so I don't even fuck with it anymore. I don't dual boot anymore because Windows is nasty. Okay, so then I'm gonna boot it up, and I'm gonna quickly show you what I would troubleshoot, but I already went through all these steps. We'll just power it up. I've got some tools over here that I keep here. You really only need one screwdriver really as a computer repair tech if you're starting out. But it's nice to have. I have other types of screwdrivers. I have these laptop type that I have to use once in a while. They're a pain in the ass to use, but these type. But sometimes I have to use them. And I've got some. These are for like smart devices. They're different types of screwdrivers, and I need to get a kit for Macs. But you don't need that. At the beginning, you just need one screwdriver. That's about it. Flathead, I very rarely use computer repair. All right, so I'm not gonna show you my password, but I'm gonna log in real quick. I prefer Windows 10 for data recovery, or because it's the latest and greatest. It'll mount Windows XP hard drives as long as they're NTFS. It will mount an NTFS file system. I'll be honest, that's why I use Windows. It's the easiest way to mount a customer's hard drive. Since it's the newest operating system, it'll mount Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, Windows Vista, Windows XP, and Windows 10. Windows 2000. Although I don't get Windows 2000 customers, but I'm just saying. So now here I'll show you what I would do. So first I make sure the hard drive is healthy enough to access it, and it shows up as drive letter F. I have Malwarebytes installed, the version 3, and I just right click and I select scan with Malwarebytes anti-malware. And that's all you have to do to kick it off. But I'm not going to do that, but that's what you would do. And then I let all of the scans run at once to save time. Another thing I do is I use super anti-spyware at the same time, because I've noticed sometimes super anti-spyware will find objects that Malwarebytes does not. So I just include that with my scan. You can use combo fix too. Come on. This computer is slower now because I installed antivirus, which really slows it up, even with Windows 10, even with 4 gigs of RAM. But this is just my dual purpose computer. So we'll go down here to super anti-spyware, and I'll show you where you can kick off a scan. Now, did you notice how you can run scans on slave drives? That's very important. You don't have to boot off the drive, it's slaved. Because the hard drive had Windows 7, remember? And it automatically boots into So go into Super Anti-Spyware, go into System, I think scan this computer, and then go into Custom Scan. And then I already have it set up because I already ran it, but to start new, you would just click on the plus. You can scan files and folders or a slave drive. So F is well, it's not really technically slaved, the second hard drive. So click OK there, and then it's set up, and then you could start the scan, which I'm not going to do. But I do, and then I run all these programs all at once. Now that I have AVG antivirus installed, I don't know why there's two, I don't know. You can go into AVG and you can do the same thing. You can scan on a second device. You do not have to boot the hard drive. I still like the terminology of master slave. That's because I'm old school. But technically, you're really not mastering and slaving drives anymore with SATA. But I'm old school, and so that's still part of my lexicon. All right, so once you get into your antivirus program with AVG antivirus, you go into Scan Computer, and then you click on File or Folder Scan. And it's the same thing. Then you can choose the hard drive, the second hard drive. Then you would click OK, and then, but I don't want to, and then you would let it scan. I've already run these scans. I've ran all these scans. It did not find any viruses. Malwarebytes found a few objects. Super Anti-Spyware found Malwarebytes. Or no, actually the antivirus software found Malwarebytes. It was weird. I don't know why there's a second icon. I don't know. Windows is strange. This is Windows 10. That's all I do. And then obviously for data recovery, as long as the hard drive is healthy, see, I can browse it. There's my video card drivers. And all I did was I was trying to get HDMI to work. That other PowerSpec has a integrated HDMI, and I was trying to get it to work. The customer brought it in and said, well, it's not running the best. And then I updated the video drivers, and then poof, it just kept looping. So, but there was problems with that computer before they brought it to me, but still, but that's what I will do for a customer. Obviously, you do not want to return it to them with problems, but, if they want me to try to get something else to work, their HDMI, I will try it. I'll give it a try. But, but you always want them to have their data backed up and blah, 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 blah. So it seems like a healthy system. I don't know if it's the hard drive, but it just will not boot. It keeps looping. So what I'm going to do is, let me see. I don't necessarily want you to see all their data because they might not like it. I do accept PayPal. I accept credit cards, and I will show you how I do that really quick, since I'm kind of waiting for. I will save that for. Okay, so I'm looking at the files, but I don't want you to see them necessarily. I don't want to necessarily blow this away because I just want to make sure. You always want to double check before you format a hard drive. Okay. What I do is I look for under their documents. It's good to, double check, triple check just to protect yourself, and you don't want to return a customer's computer and then, it's missing files. It's missing their boss is going to fire them because you fucking lost their TP reports. That sort of thing. So you know what? I think I'm going to blow this away. I'm going to look in their documents really quick, very much left here, and that's it. I look through their My Documents, their videos, their pictures, their downloads, and their documents, and I just double check. And also, I'm not perfect, I'm just a human, and I double check my work to make sure I recover their data. But as you can see, let me go back. As you can see, it's so easy to recover data as a computer repair tech. All you do is just install the drive on a second SATA port, and then you boot up I would recommend you use Windows 10. I'm not a fan of Windows 10, but it's because it's the most current version of Windows. And so it will mount an NTFS file system from Windows 8.1, 8, 7, Vista, XP, and I would say Windows 2000 also, whatever, as long as it's NTFS. Now, sometimes I use Linux when I'm having problems with Windows or the hard drive is failing and there's a mechanical problem. I've noticed that that Linux also will automatically mount an NTFS file system now. That's another reason why I use Linux. But first I try Windows, and then if I'm having problems, then I try Linux. So that's it. That's all I do. So I showed you how to install a hard drive, move it from one computer to another, and then I showed you what scans I run. I run them at the same time. Also CCleaner. Now, do I have CCleaner on this computer? I do. I have it, but I need to rectify that because CCleaner just had a problem with malware. So, but I do have CCleaner, but I need to remove it. I have an old one. That's another scan I do. So I run basically 4 scans at once. 2 malware programs, antivirus program, and also I would kick off CCleaner. And I've never had a problem. They run, and then it saves a lot of time. And I've never had a problem. Never had an issue running all these programs at once. Excuse me, yeah, at once. Otherwise, you have to run one program, wait, and then sometimes antivirus scans can take forever. And so that's basically what I do. Anything else I want to show you? I'm going to show you what I do to wipe a drive. I'm going to just shut down this computer, and then I use an old program. Now I need to find a program for solid state drives. But this program, it's free, Derek's Boot and Nuke. I have it on I've got this old case where I have all my DVDs, and one of them is Heron's Boot. There's a newer version, 15.2 now, that's been out for a while. I just haven't gotten around to burning it. This one's still good, and so you can make your own Heron's Boot. And then this is another reason why I have an optical drive, is so that I can still boot off of media. And then what we're going to do, and another thing I do, is I shut it off, and to protect myself and to avoid any major mistakes and waste time, what I do is I disconnect the Windows 10 hard drive, just so I don't make a stupid mistake and I fuck up and I select the wrong hard drive. And then what I just did was I wiped my Windows 10 operating system, which is important to me because that's what I use to recover data, and also malware, spyware, and virus scans. Okay, so I have that unplugged. So all I have now is the optical drive and the customer's hard drive. And what I've noticed is that when I use this program, DBAN, it lowers the possibilities of when I go and reinstall Windows. I've noticed this quite often. When you go on an older hard drive, when you go and, let's say I decided not to use Derek Boot Nuke, DBAN, and instead I just went and reinstalled Windows and did a quick format. That's not good enough. Even the Windows, now it's gonna try to boot. Oh crap! It's trying to boot off the wrong. It's trying to boot off the wrong hard drive. So I have to be aware of that. It should have booted off the optical drive. Let me make sure it does. Come on. There it is. So this is the Derek Hiron's boot CD, and then then it's in the main menu. See it, Derek's Boot and Nuke, and then just select it, and then hit enter. I don't mess with anything else. I just hit enter, and it takes a few seconds. Now another facet of Derek's Boot and Nuke is that it will detect a bad hard drive. It'll detect a hard drive that's failing. It will not. And then you just press press the, and then you just selected the drive. You see why I disconnected my main hard drive? Because my main hard drive would have showed up, and if I'm not paying attention and being a dumbass, well, I just wiped my fucking data recovery and troubleshooting hard drive. So then you press the space bar to select, and then hit F10 to start. Now this can take a long time, especially if the hard drive is having problems like bad sectors. However, it's running. Derek's Boot and Nuke, if it detects the hard drive is failing with SMART, it will not run, and it'll tell you that the hard drive is failing too much, hardware failure, and it won't. So I know it can take a while depending on the size of the hard drive and the health of the hard drive, but this is another gold tip of mine. I've noticed that if I format the hard drive with just Microsoft's quick format, when you go to load Windows XP, Vista 7, 8, and 10, or the full format that takes a lot longer, with these older hard drives, or when customers bring me their used or their computers and they want me to reinstall the OS, I've noticed that when I wipe their hard drive with Derek's Boot and Nuke and it works with SATA drives. I don't think it will work with solid state drives, but I'm not sure because I haven't tested it. But they may not work with solid state drives. When I use this program, there is a reduced possibility that when I go to reload the operating system, that, believe it or not, I've noticed when I went to reload the operating systems, I'll get like blue screens, or it'll be slow, or I just install Windows and all the updates, and then all of a sudden File Manager or Control Panel is freezing, like parts of Windows will freeze or programs will freeze. Well, then what I noticed is after I ran Derek's Boot and Nuke with the defaults, which is 3 passes, and I think it's Department of Defense. It's method Department of Defense short. That started to solve those problems, and I noticed that I had less problems when I went to reinstall the operating system. So my point is that I don't think Microsoft's quick format and full format utility is really it's really not all that good. So you might want to use a third party, because I've noticed that I've solved a lot of problems. And then, think about it. And then a lot of people think that it's their hard drive that's bad. And they bring their computer to you, and they're like, well, I think the hard drive's failing. Well, I've noticed that I go through all the, hard drive troubleshooting with SMART. I have some SMART tools. But just by wiping these hard drives with Derek's Boot and Nuke, it has solved a lot of those problems. And then I'm able to give back my customer their computer. They don't have to buy a new hard drive. I just reload the operating system, load the Windows updates, and then recover their data, and they're happy. Adios.